Good morning and welcome to your Wednesday morning coffee break. How are you, Jack?
Good morning, David. Happy hump day, hey?
Yeah, exactly. Although recorded on a Monday, just to be completely transparent with everyone.
Not a problem for us. We're used to doing stuff in the past. It's fine.
Yeah. How are you?
Very well, very well. The bachelor pad is no longer a bachelor pad. Rosie has returned home.
Terribly inconsiderate of her.
I know, right? I mean, Ron and I have to now tidy up after ourselves, keep the place spick and spam, and not walk around in our pants. I say us, that's very much just me rather than Ron, I think.
I'm sure Ron has been very well behaved, and it's probably you that have got up standards, right?
It's incredibly accurate, that, David, yes.
Anyway, look, how was your weekend? Arsenal won, so I imagine it's good, and we're heading into a weekend with an Arsenal FA Cup final. So, Jack, you must be in a good mood. What news story have you picked out whilst you're in such good spirits?
It kind of links to this, right? I mean, we have the FA Cup final this weekend. Liverpool picked up or lifted up the Premier League title in front of an empty crowd. Mm-hmm. Arsenal or Chelsea will also be doing the same with the FA Cup at the weekend, lifting it up to an empty crowd. So I was on the verge this morning, and from the weekend, we're looking at Major League Baseball and how Fox Sports will use virtual fans created in Unreal Engine, which is like a production site or whatever, to fill empty stadiums in Major League Baseball broadcasts. So we're used to the noises. We can hear the crowd sounds in our football and whatever. But what we don't have, or what we do have, is sex doll fans, cardboard cutouts, or like a picture of a dog in a crowd, right? Whereas what Fox are looking to do is by engaging with Unreal Engine and one of the studios that helped create the mise-en-scène for The Mandalorian, all the graphics that went into that as well, they're going to create virtual fans, like a game of FIFA sort of thing, to sit in the crowd.
Why?
What? You can't start with the question why.
Why? We know the stadiums are empty. I understand that some people like the crowd noise because they find it very disconcerting watching a Premier League match without that.
Okay, all right. Okay,
but why do we actually need to see fake fans? Because you're not going to sit there watching them. I mean, football fans at the worst, I know this is baseball, but football fans at the best of times are a horrible bunch, swearing at each other and all sorts of horrible, obscene hand gestures.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Let me just, if I can, because, I'll agree with you in a certain sense. I think it does help from a psychological point of view if you're in the ground, but I don't think that people in the ground will be seeing the virtual fans. So,
they won't, because they're all sitting at home, so that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly right. So this is what Brad Zager, executive producer and head of production at Fox Sports, said. We believe the crowd and seeing people in seats is part of a broadcast. It's part of broadcasting high-level sports in the major leagues. So we wanted to come up with a solution for that. We're not looking to fool anybody. It's still about the game, but shot to shot, when you're watching a broadcast, it's more noticeable that you're watching what is normally a broadcast with fans in an empty stadium and having it feel weird. We want to give people a sense of normalcy. Didn't know that was a word.
Normality.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, he's American, so
He's
anyway.
an American. So yeah, it's this kind of virtual fans there.
I've got a problem with it. I don't want them to normalise it too much because then they'll start going, do we really need fans back? Let it be weird. Let it not be very nice. Let us see empty stadiums and then hanker for getting back to actually having grounds full of people when we can.
I've loved watching the football without any crowd sounds. That's been one of my favourite things about post quarantine.
Hearing managers shout really kind of brilliant tactical things like chase.
Yeah. Great insights into the mind of Sean Dyche, which, believe it or not, just yells exclamatories for 90 minutes straight. But I mean, there is something quite sweet in this for the fans, I guess. I don't know if you can be a virtual fan or if they're all like sim creations. I'm not entirely sure. It seems like an awful lot of effort just to appease the viewers at home.
I think I don't think it's what viewers need.
Yeah.
I mean, are Unreal going to kind of put really fat topless Geordies in there with NUFC tattooed on their chests?
NUFC over here, right? Yeah.
Oh, dear me.
NUFC there, British Bulldog there. And then what would you have? Like a rose, English rose there, tribal. Yeah, it's the British Bulldog look, that is, isn't it? Classy.
Anyway, right, okay. That's non-news as far as I'm concerned, but interesting that the Americans are doing that. Let's talk about fake news.
Non-news to fake news. I like it.
Instagram, right? We love talking about Instagram. 18 to 24-year-olds in the US, over a quarter of 18 to 24-year-olds are now going to Instagram as their primary source of news. 19% are turning to Snapchat, 6% are turning to TikTok, as opposed to only 17% who go to newspapers to access information. Globally, the figures reach even higher levels. So in Germany, 38% of 18 to 24-year-olds have used Instagram to access the news alone. In Argentina, it's as high as 49%. Staggering figures, given that Instagram and social media as a whole is an echo chamber and is not.
Now, hang on.
No, it is.
But so is the main press. You have of all the publications in the UK, you have 6 to 7 right-leaning publications. You have the BBC, who are just being swallowed up by the Conservatives. You have Sky News, which is run by Rupert Murdoch. I don't see this as an issue whatsoever, because the trusted, reliable, experienced news sources now are becoming polluted with.
No, but there is something to be said for the fact that if I want to try and get a balanced view of the news, I can read The Guardian and I can read The Telegraph, and maybe I can read The Independent. And I'll kind of get slightly different views, and I'll kind of see what all the various different papers are saying. There is also the thing that the press are held to certain standards; they are regulated. Whereas, quite frankly, Jack, anybody we can profess to be, presenting a quick tech news roundup here. We can profess to be a source of news. This is opinion. We're not trying to state facts, and this is the problem. People see stuff online and they think it's factual, when fact-checking is a real issue.
I don't think our news sources do that anyway. I get bemused with the BBC. The only source of news I watch in the UK is Channel 4, if ever, and that's rare. Rosie's parents recently said they changed from BBC News to ITV News, and when they watched it, it's almost like they're surprised people are still tuning in. Like, it's like 10 minutes of serious news, 20 minutes of like local escapades of man grows biggest asparagus or whatever. But the BBC is a joke at reporting news, unless you're Hugh Edwards. Sky News, I'm never going to trust Sky News because of, it being part of Fox News and all the rest of it, and just abhorrent people. You're not going to get bang-on accurate news, but I would put it to you that we don't get that anyway. I don't think, unless we do our own research, how can you trust what someone else is telling you? Third eye open, Dave, come on.
So there's an interesting point here. Young people are acting as both content creators and consumers. The relationship between traditional media and social sharing has reached a pivotal point. Content creation for all has democratized news, but it remains an imperfect system dogged with accusations of bias, fake news, and increasingly polarized viewpoints. Interestingly, Republicans far less likely to trust traditional media than Democrats in the States. There's a shocker after 4 years of being told fake news constantly. It's worrying.
Wait, does that include like Breitbart and things like that, though? Like their own sources of news?
No, probably not.
The Republic. Yeah. Or Alex Jones's InfoWars, which I think has been banned now. But yeah.
Interesting. I mean, we were watching a film last night called The Informer, which was out in 1999, which is all about big tobacco and a whistleblower, and trying to get a television interview with this whistleblower out. And it was it's a Michael Mann film, Russell Crowe, Al Pacino, nominated for 7 awards, including Best Picture. Like most Michael Mann films, apart from Heat, I thought it was a bit bloated, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But
Heat's one of the best films ever.
Heat is, but apart from that, he gets
I'll give you that.
Yeah, he's a bit impressed with himself, Michael Mann, most of the time. Anyway, it would have been a great film if it was about 1 hour and 45. But that's not the point. The point being that you were watching something that's 20 years old, and it felt like it belonged in a completely different era.
Well, entirely different.
Yeah.
Then. Like
you know how you watch some stuff and you're kind of like, oh, well, this hasn't aged too badly. that, when it comes to the way that broadcast media operates, it just felt like you were watching something. It could have been 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50. It just was so out of touch with how things operate now. It's bizarre.
Wow. Well, I think, and it really has been, it precedes Trump. But, we'd be lying if we said he wasn't the king of fake news, peddling it or otherwise. So I think it is still a new thing. It's one that's not going to go away as well. I mean, it's not fake news, but, censorship and fake news do go hand in hand. And you never want to see censorship, unless you're fucking Wiley, the grime rapper, then he needs to be censored and shut the fuck up forever. But it's hard, right? It's really hard to gauge what and where you find and see and read fake news, or you're misinformed or whatever. So I think you need to, like you and I do, right? We have our trusted news sources, UKTN, The Verge and The Guardian.
Tech Talks.
Tech Talks. 9 times out of 10, they're the first places we go to, right? For our sources of news. So I think it's all about, finding someone you trust, or especially a journalist you trust. Shout out Jesse Bella Perez. And, following them, because I don't think you're ever going to be able to trust an institution for news anymore.
Yeah, interesting. Well, look, I think that'll probably do for our coffee break. Have a lovely Wednesday, everyone who's watching. Apparently, although we're recording on Monday and the weather's shite, by Wednesday it should be lovely. So hopefully we're all having a nice time in the garden. Until next week,